In this video, we're going to talk about why financial freedom is important. Financial freedom is so important. It had a huge impact on my life. I had made a lot of goals before, and I wasn't really a great goal maker. I would make some goals, maybe they weren't the best goals or the right goals. But one day I made a goal to become financially free, and when I achieved it, it changed everything. Hi, my name is Mitch Stephen, and I've been buying and selling houses for over 2 decades. I'd like to talk to you about this one goal I made, and when I hit that goal, it changed everything in my life. It was a goal to be financially free. And some of the revelations I had when I learned the definition of financial freedom changed the way I lived, changed the way I thought. It changed everything about what I thought about financial freedom, and maybe I can change it for you too. My life was dramatically altered one day when I heard a certain definition of financial freedom. I don't know if I'd ever heard it before or who said it or where I saw it. But on that day, it was kind of like the teacher had appeared because the student, me, was ready. This guy was somewhere in a book or on a stage or on a video somewhere, and he read this definition of financial freedom, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. It said, financial freedom happens when your wants and your needs are exceeded by your cash flow. I got haunted by that sentence. I had so many revelations about that sentence, it's not even funny. And the first one was, financial freedom was mathematical. I could figure it out on a graph. It was when my wants and my needs were exceeded by my cash flow. Now I knew my cash flow was zero, so that part of the graph was easy at this point in the conversation. So the most obvious way to figure out this graph was to start with what we did have. And I did have wants and needs, and I needed to put them on a graph. I needed to figure out how much I was spending on them. What was it costing me? And that might sound a little easier than you might think, because really, most people don't know what they spend their money on. And I was one of them. Everything that I did on a couple of credit cards, every single thing, if it was $1.50 taco from Taco Bell or it was a $150 tire for my car, I was putting it on a credit card so at the end of the month when I got the statement, I could go out and try to figure out where the heck all my money went. And there was things I knew, like my condo payment and the association fee and the insurance on my car and the payment on my car. I did know some things, but there was this whole big block of money that I didn't know where it went. So that was the first thing, that financial freedom was mathematical. And I eventually figured it out, that I needed about $4,500 a month to become financially free. I need $4,500 worth of cash flow, which I didn't have any. The next revelation I had was that I controlled the bar, and that if I could get that $4,500 a month lower, I would have less of a challenge. You know, the lower I got my standard of living, the easier it would be to become financially free. Now, this wasn't to mitigate my hopes and my dreams or everything I wanted to be in the future. This was just trying to make it easier for me to achieve the one goal, which was to become financially free. So I scuttled about $1,000 a month of that $4,500 to lower what I needed to be financially free down to $3,500. Another revelation I had, being financially free was words that I thought rich people used. I thought you had to be rich to be financially free. And it simply wasn't true, because I just figured out on a graph that all I needed was $3,500 a month to be financially free. So that's not rich. It's certainly not rich. It's even laughable. It's so far from being rich. So all of a sudden, becoming financially free, I didn't have to have million-dollar schemes. I didn't have to have big plans. I just needed to figure out how to get a measly $3,500 a month to come into my mailbox in one of the greatest countries in the world with the greatest business infrastructure and propensity for people to be successful in the world right here. That's all I had to do was figure out how to get $3,500 a month to come into my mailbox. Another revelation I had, and probably the biggest revelation, and the one I really want to impress on you, is this. The reason why it's so important to become financially free at even the most modest level there can be is because once you become financially free, you don't need a job. You can fire your boss. You can quit your job. Once we quit our job, because we have the money that we need coming in every day to pay for our basic needs. I'm not talking about our hopes and dreams now. This is just your basic needs. You don't need a job to pay for your basic needs. Then you get about 2,600 hours a year left over to work on you and to become the person you're supposed to be. and figure out what you're good at. And if you're not good enough at it, how to become better at it because you like it, because it does something for you. Whether it makes you money or it makes you happy or it, I don't know, builds your muscles or makes your health better, whatever it is, whatever the reason is, you have 2,600 hours a year to work on that. And last but not least, I figured that if wealth was in the cards for Mitch Stephen, that it would happen sometime after I became financially free. Sometime after I got the privilege of owning those 2,600 hours to myself. So all of a sudden, everything shrank. I didn't need $1 million deals. I didn't need to make big deals. I just needed to figure out how to make enough tiny little deals to get $3,500 a month coming in that was my money. And the whole world changed. I just started focusing on this tiny task. You know, one day I did a little deal or something, and there was $200 going there. And then I did another deal, and there was $300. I only had $3,000 more to go. And then I did a deal, got kind of lucky, and I had $600 more coming in. So now I'm at $1,000. Pretty soon, within 6 months of focusing on this tiny little goal, I became financially free. And I walked in and I told my boss I no longer needed his services and that I would not be reporting anytime soon again. And that's when I started going to work on me, watching videos just like this. Of course, back when I started, they didn't have the kind of availability that you have. You're really blessed because you guys out there right now, in this day and age, you can find so much material that you don't even have to pay for, you know, and you can get a long ways. So if you're liking this piece right now, what we're talking about, and you like the kind of attitude, what it's bringing to you, just go ahead, hit like right now, and then subscribe right now, because there's a lot more where this came from. We're just scratching the surface right now. Because this led to my book, My Life in 1,000 Houses, Failing Forward to Financial Freedom. And when I was writing this book, it was centered around a theory called the moat theory. A moat, M-O-A-T, like a moat around a castle. You guys know why there's a moat around a castle? It's to keep the bad things out and the good things in. It's usually put around a castle. The only way you get over it is because the castle drops a drawbridge over the moat. Then they can go in and out across the moat. But when things get tough or nasty or they're threatened, they bring the drawbridge back up, and it keeps the bad stuff on the outside and keeps the good stuff on the inside. And that good stuff would be, you know, I was building a moat around my $3,500 lifestyle because I never wanted that $3,500 a month to be in jeopardy because it was actually what I bought my freedom with. And I never wanted to gamble it or mess it around or adjust it until it didn't work again. I needed to keep it just like it was. So I put a moat around that $3,500 a month, and I didn't gamble it. And that paid for my car insurance, my house or my rent, my insurance, my association fees. It paid for what it took for me to live. It didn't pay for movies or vacations or any of that. It just allowed me to be free. And then, if I wanted to do some other stuff, I'd have to go out and make some more money. And that was the whole point of the moat theory. I was trying to figure out, because I knew that if I was going to be successful, I was going to have to fail. I was going to have to be able to fail, but not go under. So I've seen a lot of people that failed, and they failed so miserably. They lost their house, they lost their kids, they lost their cars, and coming back from that kind of zero or that kind of poverty is really, really tough. I wanted to figure out how I could fail but not lose everything that sustained me. If I made any money over $3,500, I could put it to the side, and when it got built up enough and I wanted to drop that drawbridge and charge out into the wilderness and try something new, if I lost all that money that I had saved up above and beyond $3,500, then I could just come back, pull the drawbridge back up, and I could rest inside this place that was preserved with that $3,500 a month paying for everything. And I could pull the arrows out of my backside, and I could contemplate while I was healing, why in the hell were there so many of those people? And how did they get those weapons that could fire so far? And how come I didn't know about all this, you know? And then I start to readjust my plan, and I start saving money beyond the $3,500 a month now again. And then when I go out again, I'm going to go out there with newfound knowledge and with a better strategy to deal with all these things that kicked my butt the first time I went out. And then how many times would I have to do this before I became ultimately successful? And I stroll in on my horse with all my spoils draped over my shoulder in a burlap bag and gingerly walking across the drawbridge, when before I was hauling butt across the drawbridge because they were in hot pursuit of me, about to kill me. That's what I wanted to do when I wrote this book. I wanted to figure out how to fail without going under, because I knew failure was part of it. There's not not a how-to in the world that won't tell you that failure is part of the plan. Everybody knows that. If you don't know it, then you know it now. You're going to fail. No one walks out the first time and hits a big one and stays there. As a matter of fact, the worst thing that can happen to you is you go out the first time and hit it big, because you're ruined. You'll think it's always that easy. You'll start throwing money everywhere, and within a matter of months or a year, you'll be broke again because it came too easy to you. And it doesn't normally happen like that. One of my biggest blessings in my whole life is that it took me a very long time to become the level of success that I am. It was just, I was a little better that year and a little better the year after that, until my net worth was into a place where I didn't even believe it. But I earned it, so I respect it. I know how hard it is to make, and I know how easy it is to lose, because along the way, I watched chunks of my money go away. When I thought I was getting a little big for my britches, or not doing my research, or not paying attention. So again, if you like this episode and this kind of talk, please hit subscribe. Please hit like. It'll help me out a lot. And if you want the first 100 pages of this book for free, a digital download, like you can get it right now, and start reading about my story and how I got there, maybe it'll help you. Maybe it'll inspire you. And it's free, so go to 1000houses.com, click on the little tab that says free stuff, and you'll see a choice there for first 100 pages free. Click on that, and within a matter of minutes, you'll get a download. I will probably get a text when you do that if you elect to put in your personal phone number, and don't be surprised if I call you personally just to say thank you.